So how does the font shorthand work? Well, let's have a look at that at the example of our package info class right here once again. The font shorthand is simply added by writing the font property, this one right here. Now for the font shorthand, we can use different values. There are values which are optional and some values are a must. Additionally, the order of the values is important, so it needs to have the right order to work correctly. Now let's start with the two must values. The first must value is the font size, which would be 1.2 rem in our case. Right here. This means we can comment out this code for a moment, right here and right there. So that's the first must value, the font size. The second value we always have to add is our font family. Well, we have the font family right here, so we can simply add Anonymous Pro or Sans Serif right here to our code and comment it out right here. And note how I add it right here. We simply add value after value. If I do that and save now and reload the page, you can see there is no difference at all. So everything stayed the way it is. However, I told you that these are the values we need to have, but there are more optional values that we can include right here in our shorthand. One value we have right here, which we can include, is the font weight. So let me comment that out right here. And the font weight, and that's important, has to be positioned ahead of the font size. So you simply add 700 right here, for example. If we do that, and reload the page again, you can see nothing changed. So this is how we can add the font weight right here. We also have other properties which we can add. This is, for example, the font variant. We talked about that. So if I add small caps right here, like we did it, and reload the page again, like that, then everything right here is displayed with these small caps. Also something we talked about. And again, have a look at the order. The important thing is that the font variant right here, this one, and the font weight are positioned ahead of the actual font size. That's really important to keep in mind. Another value we can position in front of the actual font size is the font style. The font style could be italic in our case, like that. If we now go back and reload the page again, you can see that we now have this italic style. Now, let me quickly add a comment down here to show you what we're doing right here. We have the font style right here. Then we had the font variant. Then we have the font weight right here. Then we have our font size. Then we have the font family. That's what we added so far. And the important thing really is that these three properties are positioned ahead of the font size, like that. That font family is the last value we specify, and that font size is directly coming, well, after these three values we have. It sounds really complicated, as you can see, but this is something you simply have to keep in mind or look up if you need it. You can find a link to the MDN attached to the article in this video, so this is a good resource to look that up and to keep that in mind. But if you look at these values or these properties we applied so far, you can see that one property is missing. And this is the line height. Line height is added directly after the font size, like that. And now it gets really confusing, right? Because, well, what should this mean? Well, this basically means that if we want to have a certain line height, then we simply add the slash and 2, for example. This simply means we added a line height of a number of 2. And if we now go back and reload the page, you can see that the line height increased, and we can inspect that, of course, right here inside our class, this one. And if we now go down, we can see a line height of 38.2. But if I again zoom out right here, then we have our well-known 38 line height that we learned in the line height lecture right here. Let me zoom in again, yet you can see everything. And that's actually the first purpose of this font shorthand. You can combine all these different properties and corresponding values like that As I said, keep in mind to start with these free properties in case you have them. Then continue with the font size in combination with the line height, and then add the font family always as the last property or value right here in the shorthand. Another way to use this font shorthand is to refer to system fonts. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me first maybe delete everything we don't need right here. We don't need the line height, and we don't need italic and small caps, but the rest can be kept for our shorthand because we wrote it like that. So let's keep it in here like that. So we got our shorthand. Let's see if it's still working if I reload the page. Yeah, we have to close the curly braces. That would help here. So let's see if I now reload the page. Yeah, I think we got the look back from the beginning, but now we simply wrote our shorthand right here. With that, we can delete the font size right here, and also the font family and the font weight. I won't correct it for the entire code now because I want to keep both variants right here, but here you can see that with our font shorthand, we can also easily define what our font should look like. Let me actually add this part right here back again, so that you have kind of a reminder of which properties in which order you should add to this shorthand. However, let me now also comment out our shorthand right here, like this and like that. So this basically leads to the following look now of our website. And let me now show you the second option with the font shorthand referring to system fonts. These system fonts or system font values simply refer to default font families which are applied to different parts of your operating system. This could be fonts which are used in menus, for message boxes, or for status bars, for example. Now, talking about menus, if I now add menu right here, like that, and reload the page, you can see that the font changed to a font that is used for menus on the Mac in my case right here. Another value would, for example, be a status bar, which we could add right here. And as you can see, the font size now decreases, for example, for such status bars. So that's the second option we have when using this font shorthand. It's either a shorthand, as I showed you previously, or you can also refer to such default system fonts. Now, to be honest, I don't think we need that right here, so we can get rid of it. What we can also do now is we can comment in our font right here, once again, like this and like that, and reload the page right here. So we have our style that we defined, our custom style back in here. And with that, we also understood what the font shorthand is actually doing right here. And this brings me to the last core concept that I would like to show you as part of this module. I talked about that already when we talked about the file types of our font families or the font formats, that fonts can become quite big, and therefore performance is always a topic. So let's have a look at font performance and how we can impact the loading behavior of our fonts with the font display property.